Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the weekend in 26th of July 2025. As famine in Gaza takes hold, Starmer is told to copy Macron and be bold. Two great showmen are extolled following their death that's not very old. Cleverly brought in from the cold, doctors cannot be consoled or cajoled into having their strike put on hold. Trump is shielded from protesters who are well patrolled. Ukrainian concerns are manifold after it unfolds how corruption is to be controlled. In Gaza the bodies breathe but have become so thin they're just bones held at awkward angles in webs of skin. Hurt to the body is plain, but not the soul within, which will forever be scarred by these acts of sin. The destruction of dignity, infliction of pain, is deeply ingrained and will always remain, now part of the generational chain passed down through the ages again and again. But whose sin is it, Hamas or Netanyahu? History sets in stone each point of view. From each mother's breast hatred is suckled. Under the weight of the past, future hope buckles. Israel's conduct has been increasingly examined. Now the evidence seems damning. They've caused a famine. And this week it seems the dam finally burst. War is always awful, but this was the worst. Scenes of starvation on our screens every night. At last political will has been moved by the plight. Macron said that France's official position is a two-state solution and immediate recognition of Palestine as an independent state. Trump dismissed his words, saying they have no weight. A group of British MPs felt the need to plead for the Prime Minister to follow Macron's lead. Across 9 parties, 221 told the PM that something has to be done. Starmer agreed with the contents of their letter, but felt making it part of a peace process was better. In a sign that Israel is bowing to pressure, they accepted a new humanitarian measure. Foreign aid airdrops into Gaza will be allowed, even though it can cause danger to the desperate crowds. A year ago, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, gave the doctors a raise to stop strikes proceeding. A 22% increase, for heaven's sake, was a massive pill for taxpayers to take. But this week, Mr. Streeting had another big meeting to try to stop resident doctors repeating a similar high dose of new cash being sought from Chancellor Reeve's Spartan cash vaults. But the BMA felt Streeting was browbeating with strong words to force them into retreating. He said that striking would be self-defeating because patients have lost patience with their bleating. But a 5.4% offer, was Wes just cheating? He'd vowed he'd restore pay that had been depleting. Whatever the rights and wrongs, Streeting took a beating. Strikes are underway and they might not be fleeting. For the first time since Putin's ham-fisted attempt to bring Ukraine into Russia's tyrannical tent, Ukraine experienced this week internal discontent, and protesters in Kyiv went on the streets to vent. And the protests spread to other cities pretty fast, following a controversial bill being passed. Ukraine's chief prosecutor to be given the role of keeping corruption under control. So even anti-corruption bodies will be checked for corruption within their own ranks, in effect. To have anti-corruption in the hands of one guy, and a guy who is a close Zelensky ally, could cause democracy to be compromised, a worrying sign in many Ukrainian eyes. They say their country will be just like Russia, which for Zelensky is a real ego crusher. The frontman of the British rock band Black Sabbath had a personality that was simply mammoth. If ever to entertain someone was born, it was the charismatic, outrageous Ozzy Osbourne. On Tuesday, fans across the world felt deep sorrow as news came that Ozzy would see no tomorrow. Just 3 weeks after his swan song on stage, he passed away at 76 years of age. 2 days later came the death of another great showman, the American wrestling legend Hulk Hogan. Massive personality, huge physical frame, possibly the wrestling game's most famed ever name. He died at 71 from a heart attack, causing grief amongst many a Hulkamaniac. On Friday, Air Force One alighted on Scottish ground as the US President came to play around a few holes of golf on his own Turnberry course, while anti-Trump protesters came out in great force. Police are making sure he gets a very wide berth while he visits the country of his mother's birth. A preliminary report this week as to why India Airways Flight 171 fell from the sky said that a row in the cockpit suggests the fuel supply was switched off just after it began to fly. When the error was detected and corrected, it was too late for enough fuel to be injected, so the plane couldn't get out of its nosedive, leaving just one passenger to walk out alive. The Conservatives right now are pretty miserable. Attempts to be visible have turned out risible. It may have appeared slightly contentious to bring Sir James Cleverly back from the backbenches, but Kemi Badenoch's decision to turn to a guy with whom she doesn't really see eye to eye at least got a heavyweight back in the fold, which she probably needs if the truth be told. The former Home Secretary has the housing brief, hoping to give Angela Rayner some grief, and the whole shadow cabinet some much needed teeth.